welcome to the Wednesday edition of Good Morning Anambra. Well, it's a very bright morning and the weather looking so peaceful and very, very cuddly. My name is Ajuluchuku Okabwe.
My name is Sijoma Uche. Welcome to Good Morning Anambra, Wednesday edition. Tata bu Wednesday bosaija suibo. And I'm no gotan oh my God, so the show goes on.
So as to carry everybody along.
Oh yeah.
More like that's what we do here. Well, the show is about to begin, but before we do that, we'll just take a short break, and when we come back, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what we all have for you today. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Yeah, like it's tradition here, we'll begin with the press review, and starting with that, we'll be touching the news making the rounds on ABS website. And the first news we have here is Soludo reassures Orumba Council area of more dividends of democracy.
Oh yeah. And then enforcement of third-party motor insurance commences in Oka, violators dragged to mobile courts.
Anambra State Assembly asks NAFDAC to accelerate process of reopening Obogu on nature.
Saludo's political advisor attacks politicians on constructive criticism.
Security Summit. Isiagu Community launches Security Trust Fund.
Anambra governorship election, obedient movement to back competent candidates to deliver good governance.
Federal government reaffirms commitment to supporting young scientists through skill development.
And 2026 FIFA World Cup qualifiers, Osime confident Super Eagles will end victories.
Weapons stockpile trial of 4 Hamas members commences in Germany. That's all we have for you on the ABS website this morning.
Yeah, and remember that you can get up-to-date news and information from ABS by following us on Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, X, and then listening to our live radios and watching our live televisions.
Well, that's really, really good. But then, dividends of democracy, Orumba Council. And I'm beginning to wonder.
Orumba starts to Orumba not alone.
So what
about
happens to the rest of Anambra States?
I know you're going to ask that. What happens to Dunukofia?
Yeah.
What happens to Njikoka?
Yeah, exactly. So this is what we need to ask.
You go and get your own assurance. Perhaps if you go, they'll give you assurance. Ija assurance that you'll be taken care of. Maybe in the Orumba Jello. So in the other local governments should just press up.
Probably wake up and then go grab theirs too.
Oh, yes.
And yeah, let's talk about federal government reaffirming commitment to supporting young scientists through skill development. Yeah, you know, on the internet, you know, where sometimes for things like this, you begin to say, thank God for this digital age that we find ourselves in, because you see young scientists in the remotest of places, you know, coming up with innovations that will begin to wow you and say, wow, is this capable of coming out from this part of the world? And we've not had a catalog, a database of most of all these ingenuity innovations, you understand, being documented. So federal government coming up to say that, wow, supporting young scientists, you understand, in developing this skill. I think this should be a very, very a laudable
very laudable program indeed.
You understand? So,
and perhaps start copying what is going on in Anambra State when it comes to, honestly,
one youth, two skills.
I'm telling you, that is trending. That thing is trending, but you know, they wouldn't want to give us the credit that they copied us. You know, but the fact remains that one youth, two skills have come to stay, and so many governments are tapping into that to ensure that their own youths get exactly what we are giving the youths here.
Yeah, and they said that in the 21st century that Africa will definitely have a very huge role to play. And probably maybe, apart from having the natural resources abundantly in this part of the world, but then now having the human resources in order to tap into that natural resources probably should be seeing us out of the quagmire and then the bad leadership and
Yes.
bad governance that we're having in this part of the
That
world.
is when the governments have decided to make use of what they have within, because before now, it's not that we don't have them, but there's been this movement. These guys go out to where they are appreciated, where they are valued, okay? I mean, somebody was telling me that if you get to all the big companies all over the world, you go there and find out that the arrowheads there are, you know, Nigerians,
Yeah.
the engineers, the scientists, medicine, in every aspect of a human endeavor. That you see Nigerian playing key roles, okay?
Yeah.
So these guys have always been there, but we are churning out more, but let us use what we have.
And while federal government is going about that, well, individuals, corporate organizations too can equally come into that pool and see what they can do. Imagine when you have the patency of, well, I say maybe an invention. That is lifetime royalty, for Christ's sake. You understand? So if you're a philanthropist and you have the cash, you can just pick up one of these talented youngsters wherever they are, you understand, whatever innovation
And
they are doing.
they're everywhere.
And
you see them building houses.
What about that guy that made generator that runs on water?
Generators, what do you call it, cars, you know. Have you not thought of getting these guys closer and ask them, how did you do this?
How did you do this? How do we,
how do we package you,
you understand?
so that you do something more, visible? I don't know.
Well, let's begin by taking the very first paper we have this
Before
morning.
we take the first paper, why are you avoiding this story? Enforcement of third-party motor license. I'm sure you don't have one. That's exactly why you're avoiding it, because when I saw it, I said, I hope this will not catch me one day.
Obviously, I try as much as I can to make sure that I don't step out without having everything. That
really?
I need to move, sincerely speaking, because...
I'll check you out after this program.
No problem, you definitely can do,
Okay.
Yeah, but actually, third-party, insurance is not, but it's actually good for you, you understand, since you can afford the holistic insurance, you understand. Doing this one will definitely give you some leverage whereby you have some damages and some, repairs and the rest of it, or even the case of theft too. There you have something to actually fall back on. I don't see anything wrong with that, but you see people, once they just see the VIO officials on the road, from a distance of about 1 kilometer, you see them hitting the reverse gear, and then,
I don't want to tell you what happened yesterday.
Well, on a sporting note, let's see. Osimhen seems to have been talking and blowing hot recently, and because he's in rich vein of form, would you blame him? Of course not. 20 goals and 5 assists in 25 matches for his new club. Talking about Galatasaray, the young man on loan from Napoli. I just hope that those goals will be replicated in order to see Nigeria out of that tight situation that we find ourselves, because we can't afford to miss on a back-to-back World Cup. It doesn't speak well for us. 213 million people in this part of the world, and yet we can't produce 22 men that can take us to the World Cup. Nah, that's really, really appalling. Please, Osimhen, do the talk on the football pitch, and let us see you take us to that World Cup.
Okay.
So you want to take the first news?
No, go ahead.
Okay. The first paper for review this morning will be the Daily Times, and we have ASU warns of looming crisis in universities. And then the writer there says condemns move to replace TET fund. I really support that drive anyway. But then let's see what we have here. El-Rufai, I'm still a member of APC, but can't attend NEC meetings. Wow, you're still a member but won't attend. I don't understand what this one means anyway.
Yeah, I heard him the other day say that he was not properly informed, that he was supposed to get intel or information about the news 2 weeks before the meeting, that's how it's captured in their policies. But then that he hasn't been told that any meeting is coming up. For that he's heading to Egypt, where he now resides.
Well, good. Army refused.
Mess up this place, and they will go and reside in a place that is well made.
No problem. We'll get to that. We'll come to that when we are dealing with the papers. Army refutes reports on automatic promotion initiative. And then we have Plateau booms with fake hospital and schools. That's coming from the commissioner. How is that possible? Then you have the tariff hike, FCCPC summons multi-choice warns against exploitation. I think it's about time those guys stop exploiting Nigerians. How we can tackle
last night that they are topping up all their charges.
Well, how we can tackle terrorism, insecurity in Africa, that's coming from the CAS. Up next is the Vanguard newspaper.
Okay, go on.
Insecurity, still talking about the banner headline here, how lack of surveillance, tech, aids criminals and terrorists. And that's what you find on the front page of the banner headline of the Vanguard newspaper. And the writer there says, Nigeria's $490 million failed CCTV project fueling insecurity in FCT and others. $490 million. Wow. Are we going to network the entire Nigeria from Yenegua to Yobe? Well, abductions for ransom now order of the day. CCTV contractor vanishes with $490 million. Aliero, that's coming from Aliero. 7th House of Reps said project abandoned. Failed project, national embarrassment. Ex-DSS boss. We strengthened security agencies to meet emerging challenges. That's coming from Tinubu. Wow, I think somebody should need to call somebody to order here. Custom raises concern over tax reform bills and then says bills are crucial. Step forward achieving Tinubu's $1 trillion economy, $1 trillion economy. That's coming from the Senate. And then we have US excludes UK, Nigeria orders from visa-free entry for 2025. From 2025. Yeah. US excludes UK, Nigeria orders from visa-free entry for 2025. I have never discussed running for president in 2031 with anybody. That's coming from Malam Nuhu Ribadu. And then we have death of Nigerian footballer. Controversy rages in Uganda. And then we have on the mast, federal government reforms responsible for rise in oil production. That's coming from Tinubu. Lagos Assembly crisis. Miranda agrees to step down if, well, you can go read that up on the Vanguard, in page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. El Rufai hurt because he wasn't made minister. Well, that could be true. That's coming from the presidency. Plot against Moritala Mohammed started from day one. IBB saying that. You'll find that on page 1 of the Daily Times. And then June 12 annulment, I will challenge my prosecution by IBB. That's coming from Falana.
On Vanguard newspaper, go on.
That's all for Vanguard newspaper.
Punch.
Now for the Punch newspaper, we have why INEC vote count can't be accurate, says Jonathan. Ex-president decries ghost voters, regional influences seek electoral reform. And then we have Nigeria's World Bank debt may hit $9.2 billion as federal government eyes 6 loans. When are we going to come out of this loan stuff? I really don't understand. Then we have tax reform, Senate plans review as customs, ASU fault provisions. Afenifere backs Kalu, says declaring Abiola president long overdue. South governors move against Wike's camp over PDP Congress crisis. And then we have here Obasa awaiting ruling before returning to assembly. That's coming from lawyer. Senate backs Akpabio as Natasha files 100.3 billion defamation suit. Wow, that's interesting. APC dismisses anti-Ganduje plot as El Rufai absent from NEC meeting.
I wonder what's going on in the National Assembly. This Natasha issue is going to tear that place apart because I'm sure she has her own supporters, people that are clapping for her. Go, babe, go. You know, that kind of a thing. Okay, let's look at other papers before we start talking. This day newspaper is Next. And I line up this morning, the banner headline on this day say MBS, aided by non-oil sector, GDP grew by 3.40% in 2024, 3.84% in quarter 4. Okay, Tinubu reassures global oil investments of easy repatriation of their investments with very tiny riders there. Okay, and down here, do we still have any story of interest? Presidency to El-Rufai, it's time to move on. Ah, move on. Are you setting him free? He said he's still a member of APC. Okay, Nation newspaper is next. Nation newspaper on the top of 9 templates, 1.5 million candidates register for UTME exam to hold April 25th. Okay, 25. Okay, and then widest circulating newspaper is the Nation newspaper, as they are saying it. Okay, but Natasha sues Akpabio others for 100.3 billion naira. Kogi senator faces ethics panel. Really? Attack on APC, Tinubu presidency, Ribadu, Omokri, Child, El-Rufai. Okay. And down here, services, petrol refining sectors propel GDP growth to 3.84%. I think I've seen that story. Okay. Okay, reconciliation, inclusivity for new members, top APC NEC agenda. Okay, the meeting they had yesterday, President hosts national caucus. Ah, okay. Any other story of interest coming from here? No. AJ, Guardian.
Well, the Guardian newspaper up next for review this morning, and then we have the banner headline talking Jonathan Jega carpet politicians, judiciary, INEC over flawed elections. And we also have the Tinubu OK's 1 trillion naira financing for states to strengthen PHCs. And then we have EFCC arraigned 16 Chinese for alleged cyber terrorism, internet fraud in Lagos. We have Natasha, we've seen that. APC begins 2027 groundwork as Tinubu governors, party leaders meet on internal crisis. And then we have IBB revelation, Igbo group demands 100 trillion compensation for Ndibo. Non-oil sector pushes GDP up by 3.84% in the fourth quarter. And then we have Belgium fears losing 40% petrol export to Nigeria as Tinubu woos investors. Court remands Lagos assembly workers for alleged assault on DSS officers. Daily Trust is next for review. The banner headline, food prices drop ahead Ramadan. Maize now 47,000 per 100 kilogram. Rice 70,000 per 50 kilogram. Trade sites Naira gain importation orders. Imports not a good development. That's coming from farmers. Nigeria's GDP grew by 3.40% in 2024. That's coming from the National Bureau of Statistics. Federal government demands probe or as Nigerian footballer dies in Uganda. Bayelsa varsity student drowns in swimming bet. APC National Caucus meets ahead of NEC. Card reader almost set Nigeria ablaze in 2015. That's coming from Jonathan. 13 killed in Sokoto, Yobe auto crashes. And Nigerian Tribune is up next. CBN frustrating probe into 30 trillion naira ways and means. That's coming from the Senate panel. Afenifere appoints Oba Oladipo as new leader. Lagos Assembly Union leadership demands release of 3 detained staff. And we have Senate probes Natasha's conduct may suspend her. As she sues Akpabio aid for 100 billion over alleged defamation. NBS Nigeria's DPD driven by services sector grew by 3.84% in the fourth quarter of 2024. And we also have OSIEC chairman takes IGP Osun CP to court. Quickly, let's see what we have on the blueprint, the last but not the least.
Yeah, the blueprint newspaper this morning, presidency tackles El-Rufai over ministerial snub remarks. And then down here, International Energy Summit 2025, reforms to win foreign investors back to Nigeria. This is coming from Tinubu with some riders there. Country now Africa's investment destination of choice. Okay, and then IOC's diversifying to deep water offshore operations. Lokbobiri says that. Any other story here? Okay. Alleged defamation. Natasha will have seen that story. And down here, a fast-track revenue allocation formula review. Federal government orders RMAFC urges tracking of leakages. Okay, I think that's all we have coming from here.
Yeah.
Okay, sports story. Flying Eagles land in Abidjan for Cote d'Ivoire friendlies. I want to hear a good result, please. Okay. Yeah. AJ.
Yeah, ASU warns of looming crisis in universities. Much worrisome is the move by the federal government to replace TED fund. And I really don't know, if you're going to be replacing something, you better have a well-trusted and articulated replacement. Now, what could you be having that has been tested, that is trusted to replace TED fund? And that's the big question federal government really needs to come up with, because over the years, TED fund has really helped in, bringing some development to most tertiary institutions in Nigeria. Even though some of the institution managers are saying that the money is not enough, but it's better as compared to nothing coming at all. So now, what would federal government possibly want to replace this TED fund with? I don't know why they keep gambling with
No,
you.
I think the problem with us is that we always want to throw the baby with the bathwater. If you feel that TED fund is mismanaged, why don't you probe it? You understand? Find out why it's mismanaged and what next to do. Not just, striking it out just like that, without replacement, like you said. If you ask me, I think
I don't have any problem
the
with
federal government is trying to wash off his hands from funding university education.
Then how do we now secure the future of the leaders of this country?
Like they care.
Okay, like they care. I really don't understand this, because sincerely speaking, this is the reason why some people are even able to go to school.
It's the future of your children and my children, because their children are outside this country.
So these are when you see things like this, you begin to wonder, what does it mean that education will now be for the super rich? That is, if you can't take your kids to missionary universities or private universities, then we should forget about states and federal government-owned universities.
That's exactly where he has landed us.
It's just so unfortunate, but I believe ASU and the rest of them knows what to actually do in order to make sure that...
Do you think if they go on strike that it's going to stop federal government from what they intend to do?
No, what then do you do? What then do you expect them to do?
I don't know.
You don't just fold your hands and then allow this to be, as in, this stuff to be crushed. The federal government is not even giving education the due funding that it needs. They've not even been able to access 15% of our budget on education, even though the United Nations standard says 26% for countries that are in this part of our own region, the third world. But if you can access 20%, it will go a long way if properly managed. We're not even talking about the 26%, and now you're trying to remove something that is actually making every Nigerian to have access to school. At 100 and something thousand naira, 200,000 naira for state-run universities and even federal parents are groaning, you understand? Say, how can we manage? Now you remove the TED fund, and then what happens?
They remove the TED fund, increase school fees, increase every other thing that is increasable to make sure that the ordinary Nigerian that his faces or noses are brushed on the floor. I don't even understand what is our offense. Okay? But let's keep moving on.
Yeah, let's see the prices of food dropping ahead of Ramadan. And this one should interest every Nigerian there, if you know what I'm talking about.
Yes, I was actually going to ask, okay, why will it increase during Christmas period and then drop during Ramadan? But I heard something about importation.
Yeah.
Well, though the farmers are complaining, but we won't die in hunger because you guys are also exploiting us.
Apart from the fact that they are exploiting us, the rate of which the farmers clash has really reduced food production. Then you talk about the bad roads too. It has equally hampered on the food from the remote areas finding its way to the cities and then the urban centers. So these are challenges that government needs to actually address. And we still have some stories here.
In a situation like this, let's talk about this food crisis. In a situation like this, I think there's need for food importation, at least to alleviate the suffering of the masses for this moment. You understand?
For how long?
But then that's where I'm going with this. Well, how do you now stop it? Because it's easy to start a thing in this country, but stopping it now, before you know it, it will become a smuggling affair. People will keep smuggling even when you stop.
No, sincerely speaking, I don't advocate for the importation of food that we can produce in this part of the world. Rather, what I would rather advocate for or tell the government to do is to make that line, that border, between the herders, the farmers, in most of those agrarian communities, you understand? And that's why we keep talking about this issue of ranching and the rest of it all. We saw a video in Catch the Buzz, one edition we did, where a Fulani man was in the thick bush and making a video and telling us that any Fulani man that you see in a village, in a bush, in some localities, you understand, mostly down south, that they pay money they pay royalties to the village head, the community head, for them to be in the bush. But the question I'm asking is it to be in the bush and be eating weed, or to be in the bush and be destroying people's crop? Because that's...
And not just the crops. These are the kidnappers. These are the bandits that is keeping Nigeria on their feet.
We are talking about the agri. We are talking agri now. We are not talking about... Now, if you do that aspect, you understand, take care of that, then you now tackle the insecurity that we have. That is...
Has anybody investigated that video to ensure that it is true? Otherwise,
no, the question I was asking is, this young man would have called 2 or 3 people that they had paid money to.
Yes.
And that should be where the investigation
I think
starts.
I heard similar story around here. Where they say they can't stay in your bush without meeting the people that own the town.
You understand? So
most importantly, the
Igwe, the
Igwes and the PGs. So when insecurity persists, I think they should answer us what is going on, because you know your farms, you know your forest, and these are the places where you go, where you farm, and somebody is occupying it. And somebody made a voice note that this is where they stay. Some people come out from that town and started saying it's not true. That it's not true that they're occupying that. So let's go and find out. Okay, these are some of the things that will give. I don't know what happened to DSS. And okay, let's go.
So to me, that's what we need to do. People that are saying that there's the need to have surplus of these grains, food during the Ramadan, pushed for the importation of some of these items so that the prices will now go down. But the issue is when you fight insurgency, the farmers can freely go to market. They no longer pay tax to bandits in order to access their farms and the rest of it all. And then you make the roads accessible too, so that when they finish the farm produce, they can take it to the cities and then buy. And then people can come from other parts, go to those remote areas and buy. So by the time you do all these networking stuff, then we definitely will have our food prices drop, and then our Naira will begin to gain some form of strength and momentum. Now, still talking about the story, there was this story that caught my fancy, $498 million for CCTV cameras, in Abuja. And you begin to wonder, that was in the 7th Assembly. So what happened to the contractor? What happened to no investigation, no nothing?
7th Assembly, we're in the 10th Assembly.
So the money,
we have crossed
the money,
9,
what happened? The money just disappeared, and they said this would have actually helped in securing Abuja and, the neighboring states, Nasarawa, Kaduna, Plateau and the rest of it, those neighboring states by, vigilance, and it will help reduce what we are facing now. By that time, it wasn't as bad as this. It was probably maybe one of the aesthetics of a modern city, have CCTV camera, so that everything that happens, you capture everything on camera. But now we are needing it. And $400 and something million had been earmarked for this, and nothing was done.
Nothing was done, and hers did not roll. Like he didn't know who you gave the contract, that did not execute it. This is, and they are stopping TED fund, attacking education, and what kind of encouraging corruption? I don't really understand.
What do you have about Jonathan Jega carpet politicians, judiciary, INEC over flawed elections? Well, this drum should be sounding, should be beating louder, and should sound, should be reverberating every part of Nigeria, sincerely speaking. Our electoral system needs a total overhaul, sincerely speaking. When Babangida came and was telling us about the journey in time, and people were pouring encomium on, what was his name? The late Wosu, the man that saw that June 12th annulment, you understand, that stood his ground and now etched his name in the history of time. Now, what will be said about the likes of Mahmoud Yakub? Because
even Jega, but it does appear Jega is now better than Mahmoud.
You understand? Because history will definitely remember you for either the good you did or for the injustice that your name is synonymous with. So now, when we are talking about electoral reforms should be the first step to politicians having that fear, that belief, consciousness that if they do the wrong thing, they might lose the chance of either coming back to the office.
You know why it's difficult to discuss Nigeria and their problems? When you talk of reforms, AJ, who is going to do the reform?
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
The same people that want to benefit from the system.
I don't understand. You're talking about reform.
Didn't we have before the 2022
in the
election?
military junta, you had a man that stood his ground. Military junta, for Christ's sake. That man should have even feared for his life.
The reforms that we packaged before the 2023 election, were they adhered to in the election? No. So who is going to do the reform? Is it the person that's going to benefit from the anadema? This is it. And when you even bring out the reform on the table, are they going to adhere to it? And if they don't adhere to it, will anything happen?
That is where we come in. If you don't adhere to your own electoral act, you weren't compelled. You were not summoned under duress to draft that act. You wrote it, you drafted it, you put it, you enacted it, and it became law. So the fact that that stuff was law, everything that we have to do in election, pertaining to election, should be, that's the template to follow, nothing else.
And if you don't follow it, what will happen?
Goodluck Jonathan came up and said that card reader almost,
so
you understand?
The impunity will persist before nobody is punished for any kind of wrongdoing in this country. What happened during the last election was supposed to send some people to prison.
And now APC
they're preparing for
APC is telling us in Guardian newspaper. In Guardian newspaper, APC begins 2027 groundwork as Tinubu governors, party leaders meet on internal crisis. I'm sure after the discussion on internal crisis, we will now still be on how to, impose, you understand, themselves on us come the next election. Whereas the primary thing to do, the electoral reforms, nobody seems to be talking about
Nobody adheres to any reforms. Let's just move on. June 12th annulment, I will challenge my prosecution by IBB. This is coming from Falana. Okay? I think a lot of things are coming out of this, what do they call it? Journey service. Okay. Journey service. I want to say my journey service. Okay. A lot of things are coming out. Now the Igbos are demanding 100 trillion naira, okay, for carpeting them. But somebody is even seriously fighting it already somewhere who said it's not an Igbo coup. That is an Igbo coup. This is how they wrote that the Igbos misquoted. They organized a misquoted IBB. The IBB mentioned that the key players in that coup were the Igbos, and that the things that were, that that painted it that, regional coup was what they did to Tafawa Balewa and the wife. Is it Tafawa Balewa? Yes. And how they killed them. And after all when they took stock of what happened, that no Igbo was killed. Okay? And that was why they said that it is Igbo coup. And that was why they stopped.
Well, I think a lot of people need to be, woken up from the dead to come and give an account of what actually transpired. And most importantly, Ojukwu will need to equally be brought into the picture so that we get to know, because all this mishmash of people's opinion and the rest of it, we won't really come to that concrete conclusion that this is actually what it is. But then, every person...
Okay, but Falana is alive. Falana that's handled the case of, I think, what do you call it? Delegiwa's case, between IBB and Delegiwa. I think he's the one that's saying that he's going to court because he was prosecuted for not doing anything, and now that he's been vindicated by what IBB said. A whole lot of things are still coming out from this paper, from this book. Very soon, maybe IBB will ask himself, why did I even write this, write this book? Okay, because more are still coming.
There was a video I saw of, I think it was an old video towards I think either when Buhari was about leaving power, and somebody was asking him if he would write a book. He said no. That if he writes a book, you understand, it will be in the records of the minds of the people that he has this desire to insult, abuse because of what they've done. And he said that the children and grandchildren that will read that thing, obviously will be offended by what he writes. So he chooses to like leave it and not say anything. And then I think that's more like noble. Because now that you've...
Die with it. Die with whatever you
understand? Because it will be an opportunity for him to say a whole lot. And that which he wants to say, he doesn't think that the children or the grandchildren of these people need to actually read or know about this thing. So you begin to wonder, was this actually necessary? A journey? When we needed you to come up... You understand? When we needed you the most to come out and say, you didn't say.
And a lot of people are calling for his head and arrest. Arrest him, that he should be in jail, both nationally and internationally. I'm calling for IBB's head now. I told you that very soon he will ask himself. Why? Because it was during the review, he was acknowledging the people that, you know, made contributions in the paper. Maybe very soon he will start asking them, come, Amici, this one that you wrote, did I see it before it's published? You know, okay.
Talking about APC, the presidency, and El Rufai, Malam Nasri El Rufai, popularly called the giant when he was governor of Kaduna State. You might begin to think, is he giant by the stature? But I think the guy is giant by the kind of things he does, small but mighty, you might say. Now, what's this issue of presidency coming up to say that he was denied ministerial appointment? That's why the guy is really ranting, talking all what he's saying and everything, talking about coalition and, the rest of it.
He's still going to say a lot. I know what happened.
But he was not the only person that actually did well for APC prior to Buhari securing, mandate, and then falling out with Tinubu. He's not the only one. So how come he's the only one that is making...
No, he's an inner caucus member. If you ask me...
Amici wasn't an inner caucus member?
They have a set by set. There are the...
Okay, inner.
There are people that invite people. These are the main cabals. Okay, so when it comes to getting things together to get what you want from the other person, give it to El-Rufai. And that's why I said that he's one person that APC don't really need to play with, because he has a lot. He knows a lot. You've
said this several times, and I keep wondering. He knows a lot I really don't.
If you ask me, he was going to use them in the next. Use it against them. All he knows about that against them in the next election.
Well, let's see.
But it does appear they don't even care.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying.
Because it's because of the level of impunity you see in this kind of country. Do your worst. What I want is what I get. I am in charge. I'm in power. Nothing takes me out from this place. Also, that's what it means. Otherwise, there are people you need to romance till they get to their graves to be able to secure your secrets with them.
Now, talking from that's the president speaking in blueprints, our reforms win foreign investors back to Nigeria. That's coming from the president himself, talking about the International Energy Summit of 2025. And then the writer is now saying, country now, Africa's investment destination of choice. IOC diversifying in deep water offshore operations, coming from Lukbo Biri. Does that really match the reality of what we have on ground? Sincerely speaking.
Actually, I wanted to ask you, do I agree with that statement?
I'm asking, that's what I'm saying, because...
I don't know what is attracting anybody in the country when the big ones, the giants that we have, the multinational companies that we have are living in their drones, and I don't know who is getting attracted again. Who is the first person that has entered after most of these big giants left? I don't know. Maybe they will still enter tomorrow.
But this is actually talking about the energy summit, you understand? This is more like, investment in the oil sector.
Investment in the oil sector?
Yeah.
Okay.
Talking about diversifying the deep water offshore operations. Well, let's see. This takes a little while for it to begin to manifest, you understand? Okay. So let's believe that with time we'll definitely get to see how that pans out. Then still talking about CBN now, this time around, we were talking about the Nigerian Tribune, frustrating probe into 30 trillion ways and means. That's coming, these ways and means, we heard a lot about it during the last administration. Ways and means, you hear 9 billion, ways and means, you see 1 trillion. You begin to wonder,
money is flying out.
Money is flying.
Two ways and means.
Emefiele really made us understand what this ways and means was. And this was some money that could not be
Why
actually...
Is that one
he's still battling. He's still battling with his big Bible. You understand? So you begin to wonder, what is actually happening here? Is this, you understand, that list where you write and then you add miscellaneous expenses. So ways and means could be the miscellaneous box in which monies that you can't account for.
And that you are not supposed to account for.
I'll trouble.
It's miscellaneous.
Now you're talking
so
about 30 trillion. 30 trillion. You understand? The probe into 30 trillion ways and means. This probe is going to come from which? Is it going to be the 7th?
30T, not B.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. 30T, man. This is really, really tough. But then, Nigeria, you would not know. You guys never seem to really amaze us talking about what happens in the... Now, talking about 1.5 million candidates registered for UTME, I was thinking that figure is rather...
Low.
Very, very, very low. That's paltry, as far as I know. 1.5 million. As in,
considering the population.
Yeah, considering the population.
Of children in school
so now, what could be responsible? Is it the high cost of securing the fees, the jam fee, or what? Or people, our kids are no longer, interested in going to university?
It could be the first, because you know what's on ground now. Most parents are struggling to put safe food on the table for their children. So some people will not really write that jam, because what is the possibility that even if you pass it, you go? Okay, to enter secondary school now, you pay money in hundreds to put your child in a secondary school. Well, then when you talk of university, what's going on?
You're talking about a free education in this state.
No, I'm not talking about the state. We're talking about JAM. JAM is national. Yeah. Okay, so what about getting into university now? And then with the rising cost of living, when you are taking out, this is why I talk about the TED fund. When you remove all this thing that you want to remove, and the school will hammer it on the parents that your school fees is now running in millions. So why will you write JAM to pass and keep in the house when I'm sure I'm not going to be able to sponsor you in the university? That's by the way. Another area is where I want to bring in now, where people that have really taken out from this society, where you come in to give into, because I know some people in my area are paying for JAMB and WAEC for students to be able to write their JAMB and giving scholarships. Okay, this is very, very important, because as it stands now, most parents cannot take their children through schools. So you go and look out for those ones that are very intelligent, that need to be encouraged, to be encouraged. Some of the bitterness you see in this country is people that have ideas of what they want to be in life, but the system could not allow them to explore that. And then they get bitter and start kidnapping you, start all forms of criminality. Okay? So let's do it in our own little way and find out where we can help to ensure that we'll get a better society tomorrow. Okay?
Yeah, but that figure needs to be talked about. I don't want to believe that in a population of 213 million Nigerians, only 1.5 million would be enrolling for this year's UTME examinations. I think our federal government should, wade into that and see if the prices need to be reduced so that education can be accessible. You understand, by all. I don't see...
You're taking the money. I don't know where you are. You exporting the money? Is it not the money that you're going to spend on me here? Make it easy. Can we talk sports before we go?
Okay.
Flying Eagles land in Abidjan for Cote d'Ivoire friendlies. Okay, and then yesterday we saw how the Super Falcons are getting set. No, not yesterday, this morning's news, how they're getting set with their own matches with the Benin Republic.
The Super Falcons seems to be the beacon of hope when it has to do with Nigerian football right now, because the Super Eagles is not living to the might of the Super that is associated with the name. But the Super Falcons actually are doing that.
So you give it to women?
No, of course, sports-wise in Nigeria for the past
Not sports, everything.
No, sports-wise.
No, I think you should also try us in every other areas. No jokes.
We don't need to try. We don't need to leave it for you people. You need to show capacity. Then you earn it.
You think you don't have the capacity?
You have the capacity. Then put yourself.
You are intimidating us, AJ.
Where? How?
No, give a woman a ticket and give her the platform to run.
You say give a woman the ticket.
They give tickets.
Why would the woman be giving a ticket?
They give tickets. They give it. No,
so okay, the ticket to be given to her in her husband's house?
No. Wherever they gather, give us the ticket. Okay, that's what I'm saying. Let's rejig, let's change the system for a while and see how it runs. If Super Falcons can give Nigeria, if they can give Nigeria the fame and the pride, the joy that has eluded them in Super Eagles, okay, why don't you try them in the other areas? Why are you laughing?
I'm not laughing.
Why don't you try them? Give them governorship candidates, give them presidential candidates, and let's try that side and see if we will not outrun all the men that have ruled this nation.
The problem I have is that you're saying give them. Whereas
it is giving here, whether you're a man or woman, it is giving.
Giving is not the right word to say.
And that's what you're saying. But if you're in politics in Nigeria,
give, it's like you're saying you're handing it over. No, merit it. You understand? And then you have, people now coming out to say this is who we want.
Which of the people that are in power that merited what? No, look at it. Somebody told you that instead of him not to get this ticket, that he's going to pursue, grab it and do whatever. So it is what we do in this country. You give it, okay?
You hand it over.
Yeah, you hand it over.
Well, most times they say power is not given. You need to show capacity.
That's in civilized clime.
You need to show
not in Africa.
Capacity,
yeah, you
antecedents that you definitely can, manage it. We're still talking about sports, and the Flying Eagles land in Abidjan, the Super Falcons. There is very much hope that Togo would not be a stumbling block. But the real major issue now is the qualifiers. You understand that is coming up next month. That's for the World Cup that will be happening in 3 countries. That would be the USA. And incidentally, Nigeria played our first World Cup when America hosted. That was in 1994. So I think we'll definitely want to go to that.
And when last did you play?
When last we played was in Russia, you understand? So
when was that?
2018, because we missed out on 2022 at Qatar.
This is the second one.
And we are almost, you understand? So we need to win these 2 matches. And that's why I'm not even satisfied with the fact that we have Eric Chelle as a coach to manage the Super Eagles, sincerely speaking. The general that you take to war will tell.
Love to be your coach.
We can continue with our indigenous coaches, you understand? I see nothing wrong with Eguavon still remaining there until we have a better replacement.
You guys are not good business managers, that's it. If I give Eguavon or whatever, Eguavon, if I give him the coach and tell him the terms that we're going to do the sharing, will he agree? So let me get somebody outside. Let's go.
So the detriment of what gives Nigerians 213 million people.
Who cares?
That's it. So the management of the NFF should really look inwards and now know how best to manage our football, because they are not doing a good job. Sincerely speaking, Eric Chelle is not worthy of being seen at the bench, the dugout of the Super Eagles. We need somebody that has tested the waters, won leagues, both locally and internationally.
Hey, this is not sports program. I know you are missing. I know you are missing sports program, and this is press review. So let's go, please. Let's go. We are overshot it.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for being with us. Well, that's the much we can take on the press review this morning. Do go out there to any newspaper stand. Don't just be a passive Nigerian. Go there, be active, read, and then make your own contributions to the betterment of what we have going on in this country.